going into the 4th of July here this morning in Daytona Beach, Florida. Off to a slow start here this evening.
Trouble up in turn number 3. We're going to wad up almost half the field. Sliding down to the inside is Kurt Busch. Jimmy Johnson gets it. Reed Sorensen's involved. Jimmy Johnson, Greg Biffle, Marcus Ambrose, Joey Logano. You've also got Bobby Labonte, Paul Menard, Mark Martin, Tony Stewart slamming on brakes to prevent getting avoided. He'll get damage. I would venture at least a dozen, perhaps maybe even 20 cars involved in this wreck in turn number 3.
Kurt Busch is one of those that has a big chunk of damage on his car. Let's go back over to turn 3.
Barney, it started at the front of the field when Kurt Busch and Jeff Burton made a little contact, and then the ripple effect began, and it began right behind them, and nobody could get through this one. Track was completely blocked. It is just a sea of skid marks in turn number 3. Safer barriers marked up from all the cars that went sliding in, flames billowing from this pack of cars, and the blinding smoke. Everybody now has left the scene with the exception of a couple of cars that sit idle at the bottom of turn number 3. Safety crews on the scene here at the apron of this turn.
Now we got Mark Martin that's on fire, just actually sliding up into the safer barrier. Flames billowing out of that race car. He stays on the gas. He's headed to pit road in front of you, Joe, but flames pouring out from underneath of Mark Martin.
He rolls to the inside of the racetrack. We can see the fire from here in the main tower. Quite a few other cars involved as well as they all got together. A huge incident there in turn number 3. Here's Mark Martin rolling down the pit lane. The flames intensify now as he rolls down, trying to find a place to stop the automobile. As the red flag comes out here, Mark Martin rolls down the pit road and now slowly rolls to a stop. He wants to get out of that car. Let's go to Alex Hayden.
And it's right in front of me. The car is literally engulfed in flames. Black smoke billowing. The window that is down on Mark Martin's car right now. The fire extinguisher there. Mark Martin, as I can see through the smoke, being yanked out by some of the Lowe's team. The Jimmy Johnson pit crew go up and yank Mark Martin out of the race car, and he is apparently okay. As you can look down here at this race car, still on fire. The fire extinguisher is now being emblazed all over the front of the car, the back of the car. Fire is out. Mark Martin has the helmet off of his head right now. The Hans device is off, and the Lowe's Home Improvement team down here. And Mark Martin gives these guys a big hug for yanking him out of the CarQuest Chevrolet. But Mark Martin, no worse for the wear. Helmet off, he walks back to jump in the safety truck for the mandatory ride to the infield care center.
So Mark Martin out of the car. As we said last night in the nationwide race, the most scary thing for a race driver is a car that gets on fire.
I'll tell you what, and the way that thing happened, Jeff Striegel, it started, the flames began up there in front of you. He had to come all the way down to past the start-finish line here.
Yeah, you know, it looked like he was just going to try to limp that car back onto pit road, Joe, and then all of a sudden, you know, it didn't appear to be on fire, and then all of a sudden, at my feet, I saw him come up and just kind of glance off the outside safer barrier, and the car just began to catch fire, and it built and built and built, as you described, engulfed in flames by the time it got onto pit road. I'm not sure that Mark knew immediately that that car had caught fire, although I'm sure he was getting some sort of indication from his spotter high atop here in Daytona, but obviously a very scary situation for Mark Martin and so many others that have brought out the red flag here.